Now to the Securities and Exchange Commission versus Elon Musk. The Tesla chief headed to court today over his controversial tweets that have triggered a legal battle between his company and the SEC. A federal judge will hear argument in a lawsuit filed by the agency, which is asking the court to hold Musk in contempt for violating a $40 million settlement. Joining us now is ARK Invest analyst Tasha Keeney. Tasha, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
How have you been trading or recommending this stock in light of all of this? Tesla.
In light of the SEC investigation. Yeah. Well, we don't try to predict legal outcomes. We certainly don't know. But, Dig and I heard you say earlier, you don't think that he'll be removed as CEO. That's really most important to us. We want him to stay at the helm of the company, especially as Tesla is still reaching full autonomy with its vehicles, which is what we think the largest market opportunity ahead of it.
Think about the outrage about that if a federal judge, because of a tweet, you're right. Violates a settlement with a securities regulator, which has no really criminal authority over companies. It has civil, it can file civil cases. Having a judge remove a CEO for a tweet ain't gonna happen.
Well, they want to remove President Trump for his tweets.
And Tasha, how do you manage your expectations given the fact that Elon Musk has such volatility in his behavior?
We look at Musk really as a visionary. He's accomplished the impossible. He's changing the face of the auto industry. There's a lot of transparency in what he does because he uses Twitter, and he's made mistakes in the past, and he's admitted those and paid for those mistakes. I think, again, for the long-term goal of the company in terms of getting to full autonomy, being a leader in electric vehicles, he seems to have accomplished that. So we're happy so far with how things are going.
Yeah, but the company's new vehicle deliveries plummeted 31% in the first quarter. Yeah. Tesla citing challenges associated with taking the Model 3 overseas for the first time. How big of a deal is this?
I think there's too much focus on deliveries. Again, with an innovative company like this, you have to look at the long-term picture. So if Tesla's late by, say, a month or what have you on those numbers, it's still the best-selling mid-size premium sedan. There's no demand issue.
But it does reflect, and the Wall Street Journal writes about this in its analysis today, Tesla has trouble planning. And if you're going to be in the manufacturing business, you really need to learn how to cross your T's and dot your I's, so to speak, because Tesla produced 22% more cars than it was able to deliver in the first quarter. So this shows, in part, a logistics problem. Now,
is it going to hurt income?
It will likely, but Elon Musk and Tasha can talk about this. Elon Musk forecast several weeks ago. We were talking, remember, about the debt payment. It was really about him saying that the company might not be profitable in the first quarter after 2 straight quarters of producing a profit because of some of the issues. And in part, they are losing that tax credit as well. It was at $7,500. Now it's essentially been cut in half.
Stock is down 8% right now.
Right.
Yes, exactly. So, I think, so one, in terms of profitability, I think, so Tesla said that they have enough cash in hand at the end of the quarter. And I think in general, with the delivery figures, you have to ask yourself, are these logistics challenges going to kill the company? No. If you're a long-term investor, I don't think this should faze you.
Wanted to ask about the tweets. Obviously, this is a mechanism to speak to the markets, and the company has said that. But people, just like with the president, they argue, are the tweets critical to his success, or is he hurting himself with tweets? I wonder how you view the Musk communications generally, whether it's Twitter, whether it's going on podcasts and smoking weed. Is this part of the brand and it's part of the genius, or is it a downside and you wish he'd stop talking?
Again, as I said earlier, with Twitter, we get a lot of transparency, and you don't get that with other CEOs. So I think in a lot of ways, as investors, that gives us more information. Now, sometimes he does unpredictable things, like the 420 tweet. But in general, again, we see the board supporting Musk, which is really important for an innovative company like Tesla. And as we look forward, as the auto industry transitions to electric autonomous vehicles, Tesla's years ahead of the competition. And so we don't think that little blips like this are going to sort of affect that competitive advantage that Tesla's built in terms of batteries, in terms of autonomous hardware, and in terms of autonomous data.
And it's not, you don't even need to look ahead to autonomous vehicles. I had this discussion with someone I'm very close to over the weekend who works in Silicon Valley. Every other automaker, even luxury automakers in Germany, Japanese and American, they are awful at software. There is no other car and no other car company that compares to a Tesla. We all, as drivers and consumers, ought to be rooting for this company. You don't have to own stock in it, but you ought to be rooting for them, because hopefully all these other automakers will realize, oh, our software stinks.
Exactly. And automakers really haven't even owned that part of the supply chain, the software side of things. They're bringing in all of these components from different suppliers, and Tesla's vertically integrated. So this is a huge challenge to the traditional companies. And I mean, if you look at just take one thing, over-the-air updates, the car gets better overnight. Why haven't other automakers been able to do this? I mean, it's ridiculous that Tesla's actually been doing this for years now.
Because they're dug in and they literally don't know how to run a car company in the new century. That's literally what these companies look like. I'm surprised that Apple and Google haven't done more to try and manufacture a car or produce software for one.
How secured is Tesla's funding?
So, you know, I think in general, if we look at funding for Tesla, okay, so say if you were worried about cash, we actually, as investors, would be okay with an equity dilution, because we just want them to get as many cars on the road as possible. Each of the cars acts like a mini R&D center. It collects data for Tesla, and it gets it towards that vision of full autonomy, because machine learning improves with the more data that you feed it. So we're actually factoring in a $10 to $20 billion equity dilution over the next 5 years. And again, we'd be okay with that.
How soon do they need to raise more capital?
So, you know, they said that they're okay with cash at the end of the quarter. So no immediate expectations for that to happen. Now, if things were to change, which we certainly think they could, again, that would be okay.
Just to be clear, the stock is down almost 9% right now. Would you buy it here?
You know, I can't say whether or not we would buy or sell, but again, our long-term vision for Tesla.
You got to tell clients something, right?
Well, you know, the market hasn't opened yet, but the long-term vision for Tesla has not changed. I mean, we still think they're the largest producer of batteries in the world. They're the only company that's collecting data off its customer cars on the road. We've seen every other company that's working on autonomous driving have issues. Waymo's having technical issues. Their commercial launch was much watered down than what we expected. I mean, Tesla could launch a fully autonomous car in the next couple of years, and then they're really going to run away from the competition.
I still think he's acted like a jerk in the past, but again, like I said, everybody in this country ought to be rooting for the success of this company in one way, shape, or form, because it is the future.
Tasha, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Tasha Keeney, ARK Investment.